I started this productivity channel a couple of years ago while working as a full-time consultant in the beginning. Now, I'm working full-time as a creator and productivity coach. I've compiled my best videos over the past year in a structured way so that you can ultimately become exceptionally productive, not just in your work, but also in your life as a whole. It's a huge video for an animation video, so feel free to watch it in bits or jump around using the timestamps below. If you watch it all the way through, you'll set yourself up to outperform 99% of people. I picked each video with specific intentions in mind, starting with Module 1 being about strategic planning and goal setting, Module 2 being about mastering your time and tasks, Module 3 being about mastering motivation, dopamine, and consistency, and last but definitely not least, Module 4, the inner game of productivity, which I don't see many people talk about. I genuinely hope you enjoy them. Before diving in, I just want to quickly mention my 5-day email course. It's the ultimate foundation on goal setting and productivity, and you can grab it totally for free in the link below. Now let's get back to the video.
What if you could get more done in the next 3 months than you've done in all 2024? With the year closing in, now's the time to make that final push and lock in. In this video, I'll show you the 12-week framework to break down your big goals into clear, actionable steps so you can get more done these next 3 months than you've done in all of 2024. Now is the perfect time to set your next big goal, because there are about 3 months left until the end of the year, and 3 months is long enough to achieve a significant big goal, but not too long like a yearly goal that you can't see the end of the tunnel, and where most people give up during the infamous February slump. Plus, as the year closes in, a natural sense of urgency kicks in. You can consciously take advantage of this urgency and momentum. So how do you apply the 12-week year framework? First, set a reasonable big goal that you want to achieve for the next 3 months. Second, divide the period into 3 phases. The first 4 weeks, the middle 4 weeks, and the last 4 weeks. Third, ask yourself this: what 3 milestones need to be accomplished in each 4-week block to reach your overall goal? Make sure to set the milestones in a way that when completed will result in your overall 12-week goal. Fourth, now we can dive deeper into each milestone. Ask yourself this: what 4 sub-milestones needs to be achieved each week for you to hit the first milestone? Use the same approach here. The sum of the sub-milestones should result in you accomplishing the main first milestone. Repeat this process for each 4-week block. This is the first draft of your game plan. To make it even better, we ask ourselves another question. On a scale from 1 to 10, how confident are you that the game plan you made, if executed, will lead you to your overall goal? A 10 out of 10 means you're 100% confident and have no doubt, and a 0 out of 10 means not at all. If your answer is 8 out of 10 or higher, you're good to go. Start taking action. But if your answer is below that, you'll need to revisit the plan. Ask yourself this follow-up question: what adjustments can I make to the plan to turn my answer into an 8 out of 10 or higher? When you've done that, you're set. Don't procrastinate any longer. Start executing on your plan. If you need to rewatch the video while creating your plan, feel free to do so. But once the plan is done, there's nothing left to do other than to start executing.
We live in a world where things are evolving at an increasingly rapid speed, including distractions. That means that there has never been more important to get good at managing your time. I've spent countless hours on experimenting with different approaches, and in this video, I'm going to share with you how I effectively plan my month, week, and day. If you're new here, this is Outperform, and in this channel, we break down concepts within self-development through unique visuals and insights grounded in real-world experience. If you like this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button. When it comes to my system, I have my monthly goals, weekly goals, and daily goals all in one page in Notion. The reason I have it set up this way is because I'm able to have a quick glance at my monthly goals and weekly goals if I want to. In addition, I'm able to easily see the connection between my daily goals, weekly goals, and monthly goals. And if there isn't a connection, I'm able to easily spot it and adjust it quickly. My monthly goal is also connected to my long-term goal. That means that the daily goals that I set here is actually connected all the way through to my long-term goal. And if you want to see my video on how to make long-term goals, I will link the video here. Now, for my monthly goal, I only want to have 1 to 3 main goals that I'm going to focus on. Initially, I'm probably going to write down more than 3 things, but eventually I'm going to prioritize and choose. To help me with this, I have 2 questions that is always present in this view. And those questions are, what is the 1 to 3 most important things that I'm blessed to do this month? My second question is, what is the one thing I can focus on this month such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? I will do the same exercise for my weekly and daily view. In my daily view, I also have another part. In this part, I write down all the other things that I want to do for the day. Here, I'm allowed to write as many things as I want. But this part is clearly separated from the first part. This is to emphasize that I'm not allowed to do the second part until I'm finished with the first part. So you can look at the second part almost as a bonus task list. After identifying the most important tasks, prioritizing and choosing, now is the time to put everything in the calendar. Whether you use Google Calendar, Outlook, or any other calendar is really not that important. The most important thing here is that you just have a calendar to use. A calendar will make you time block your most important tasks, and it will make you think about how you should structure your week and how you should place your tasks optimally for your goals, needs, and wants. An advice for this process is to give yourself a buffer and be flexible. This is because most people underestimate how much time they actually need for certain tasks, especially in the beginning. And if they have filled out their whole week with minimal buffers, just a small error in their forecasting ability might fuck up their whole week. Now, let's talk about the phase later in the process where you're actually taking action and completing the task that you have set out to do. Sometimes in these phases, it's easy to fall into a negative perspective and think, I need to do this, I need to do that. Under these circumstances, you need to first realize that you've fallen into a negative perspective. Then you need to shift your perspective. Everything that you've wrote down in your monthly view, your weekly view, and your daily view, everything that you've put in your calendar, those are things that you've chosen to do. Those are things that you want to do. You don't actually need to do any of those things. To help me prevent myself from falling into these negative perspectives, you might have noticed how I phrased the questions I asked myself earlier. The first one was, what is the 1 to 3 most important things that I'm blessed to do? It is not I need to do. Now, you don't need to use the word blessed like I do. You can also just use the word I want to or I choose to. The most important thing here is that you don't use the word need. I also call this whole page in Notion want to-do list, not just to-do list. All of this to prevent me from falling into the negative perspective.
Imagine getting so much done in so little time it feels illegal, and use up the freed up time on whatever you want. That's totally possible and very likely with the 2-step approach and core ideas I'm going to show you in this video. I will divide this video into 2 parts. First, what tasks you should focus on, and second, how to work on those tasks as efficiently as possible. Let's dive in. Imagine 2 persons trying to get to a destination. Person A is pumped and wants to get started as fast as possible. He knows he has a bike, so quickly gets on it and starts biking towards the destination. Person B, on the other hand, is not rushed to get started. He realizes he could ask a friend to borrow a car or just rent one, so he ends up driving to the destination, comfortably sitting in the car. The answer is pretty obvious on who's going to get to the destination first, right? Not only that, who do you think is going to get more tired and overworked? Not only is person A going much slower, he's also going to get a lot more tired. Person B is winning because he chose a more leveraged vehicle to get there. In this context, leverage means more distance per minute. And this highlights the exact same difference between an effective entrepreneur and an ineffective and overworked entrepreneur. The ineffective entrepreneur is like person A, rushing to just get moving, being busy, and ends up overworked while not progressing in his business. The effective entrepreneur is like person B. He takes his time and don't rush into any task, because he knows that some tasks will be like the bicycle, while other tasks will be like the car. Some tasks will get him a lot more results per minute he spends on it, and he ends up progressing faster while working less. So now that you understand the core idea, let me show you how to put this into practice. First, write down all the tasks you're currently doing each week and month. Don't worry about prioritizing yet, just brain dump everything.
Second, categorize each of these tasks into low, mid, and high leverage tasks. You can think of the high leverage task as the car, mid leverage task as the bicycle, and low leverage as walking. Once you finish that, ask yourself these questions. How can I spend more time on high leverage tasks? And how can I spend less time on mid and low leverage tasks? These questions will get your mind running. Okay, now that you know what task you should commit to, let me show you how to execute those tasks as efficiently as possible. Let's continue with our car example. Now imagine both choose to drive the car. But person A hates driving. He's bad at it, his heart races every time he's behind the wheel, and he dreads every trip. Person B, on the other hand, loves to drive. He has his favorite playlist playing, perfect temperature in the car, and he enjoys it so much that he often forgets about time and reaches the destination without even realizing it. Now, who do you think will be more productive? At first, person A might be able to keep up with person B. But what if they have to make that drive every day for years? Who do you think is going to stick with it and be consistent? That's the power of enjoying the process. When you enjoy the task, you can't help but to be more productive. You get into flow, you're more creative and consistent, and the energy you gain from the task spills over into everything else you do. So there are actually two big lessons here. First, choose the task you enjoy doing. And second, figure out ways to make the process more enjoyable. Most people overlook the second one, but small changes can make a huge difference. Ask yourself, if this was fun or enjoyable, how would it look like? How can I make this more fun and enjoyable? These are questions you have to ask and answer yourself, but a few examples could be making your work environment more pleasant to work in, whether that's cleaning up your space, hanging up some motivational pictures, putting on some good music, or working with your team or in co-working spaces, etc. Sometimes all it takes is one tweak to turn a task you hate into something you actually don't mind doing. But what if you tried everything and the task still sucks? Let me show you what to do then. We'll continue with our car example. What if you really hate driving? What most entrepreneurs end up doing is to force themselves to keep driving, hate every second of it, and eventually burn out or quit. Can you guess what the smarter move is here? The smarter move here is to get someone else to drive. When you do this, not only do you not need to drive, the person driving is probably way better than you at driving. And while they're driving, you can work on something else simultaneously. This is the power of delegation, and it's where high-level entrepreneurs separate themselves from low-level entrepreneurs. They don't waste time and energy on tasks that drain them. They find someone else who's good at it and move on to other tasks that they are good at and love doing. And while someone else handles task A, they're simultaneously making progress on task B. The increase in productivity here is night and day. What if I told you that you're multitasking more than you realize, and that is quietly ruining your productivity? In this video, I'll show you the hidden ways you're multitasking, how it's secretly destroying your focus and productivity, and exactly what to do to reclaim your productivity. So how are you more of a multitasker than you realize? Well, first, there's actually a trap before we even get to multitasking itself, and it's the fact that many people still believe they can multitask in the first place. According to Dr. Larry Rosen's research, the average teen and young adults generally believe they can handle 6 or 7 forms of media at once. But this is an illusion, and I'll get back to this point in a bit. According to Gloria Mark's findings, the average worker is distracted every 3 minutes, and most never get a full, uninterrupted hour in a workday. This shows that people think they're focusing, but in reality, their attention is constantly being hijacked. The term multitasking was originally invented in the 1960s by computer scientists to describe machines with more than one processor. These machines actually could multitask because of their multiple processors. We took that concept and applied it to humans. And here's the problem. We aren't wired like computers. We're actually very single-minded. Professor Earl Miller, one of the world's top neuroscientists at MIT, says that your brain can only produce 1 or 2 thoughts in your conscious mind at once. Every time we think we're multitasking, what we're actually doing is rapidly switching between tasks. And this constant switching comes with significant costs. So let me walk you through 2 of the main ones. There's broad scientific evidence related to the first one. Imagine you're trying to work and suddenly receive a notification text on your phone. You glance at it for a maximum of 2 seconds and get back to your work. In that moment, your brain has to reconfigure when it switches from one task to another. Your brain has to remember what it did before and remember what it thought about. This will take a bit of time. When this happens, evidence shows that your performance drops and you'll be slower, all as a result of switching. This is called the switch cost effect. Every time you switch task, you're not only losing time on the distraction itself, but also the extra time it takes to refocus, which often can be longer. Think about it this way. If you're unintentionally using your phone for 2 hours a day, that is not only 2 hours lost, but 2 hours plus the time lost on switching. The second main cost is one of the biggest productivity costs. When you sit down to work, it takes a bit of time before you get into it. You might even have dreaded the work beforehand, but after working with it, you're suddenly in the zone. You're fully focused and lose all awareness of time and space. During these times, your output is multiple folds more than other times. This is you in your flow state and momentum. But here's the thing, when you regularly switch tasks, you kill this flow state and momentum for that particular task. Imagine you start working and start getting into flow and momentum. Instead of allowing yourself to take more advantage of being in this flow state, you kill this momentum. You start on a new task, and for this task, you have to start from scratch again. You have to go through the initial phase of getting into flow state again to build momentum. And once you're there, you decide to kill it again and switch back to your first task. This is the second main cost, the killing of flow state and momentum. So how do you prevent these two huge productivity costs? First, get clear on what task you want to do for a specific period of time. Give yourself enough time to not only get in the zone, but also enough time to stay there and take advantage of being in the zone. Second, remove all distractions. A common mistake people do here is doing the bare minimum. They only put their phone away. This is usually not enough. Your brain knows that you can just move a few steps to get your phone, so it will allow itself to crave the dopamine hits when your task gets hard or boring. Instead, we want to maximize friction. Turn your phone off or put it on airplane mode. Put it in another room and put it inside a drawer. This clearly tells your brain that even though your task might get boring or hard, the friction to get your phone is so high now that it won't bother and is much less likely to create those cravings. We all eventually slip, but if you set things up so that it's hard to derail even when you do slip, you'll protect your focus and productivity. Have you ever wondered why some entrepreneurs effortlessly fit everything into their day while you're drowning in your endless to-do list? What if their secret isn't working faster or harder, but intentionally doing less? I know it might sound too good to be true at first, but if you make it through this video, I'll promise you'll experience a complete perspective shift on time and walk away with a clear 3-step process you can start using immediately. It's exactly how I managed to grow this channel to over 100,000 subscribers while working full-time as a consultant in the beginning, and consistently more than double the productivity of the people I work with. So in this video, I'll show you a powerful new way to view and architect time to get more done doing less. And second, immediate practical steps you can implement today. Let's dive in. First, let's look at how employees and entrepreneurs view time very differently. Employees typically have a boss, clear task, and a set schedule. For them, time is something managed externally by deadlines, meetings, and assigned duties. Entrepreneurs, on the other hand, don't have anyone dictating their schedules. You don't have a clearly defined task handed from above. You only have time, and how you use your time will determine everything in your business and life. That's why your relationship and perception with time is different as an entrepreneur. To understand time better, let's compare it with something else valuable: money. We're also strategic with how we invest money, thinking about our portfolios and ROIs, yet when it comes to time, we don't think about it the same way. Which is crazy because, especially as an entrepreneur, your time is more important than money. You need to start treating your time even more seriously than your money. That means you have to be even more serious about your time investment, time portfolio allocation, and ROI of each activity. If we were to take a look at the ROIs of your time investments right now, I'm sure we'll start to find a ton of time investments that have little to no ROIs for you. Worse yet, negative ROIs. So how can you start allocating more time skillfully to get more done in your business, doing less? Let me show you that next. There are 3 steps to this, with the third step being especially powerful because it shows you how you can invest less time, yet progress faster in your business. But let's go through them one by one. First, just like with money, you have to look at how much you have or want to spend. As an entrepreneur, how many hours do you want to spend working the next quarter or year? The exact number is something you'll have to figure out for yourself. But just an example for this video, let's go with 40 hours a week, which I'll round up to 2,000 hours a year for easy numbers.
So that means you have a total of 2,000 hours to spend for the year. Second, you have to connect the time investments to clear goals. How do you want to allocate those 2,000 hours? Well, that will depend on your business goals. For me, I want to continue to produce amazing content for this channel, deliver amazing results for my clients, and at the same time, still have plenty of free time for my hobbies and relationships. So I had to think about how to strategically and optimally allocate those 2,000 hours given my clear goals. And initially, this would just be a best educated guess, and that's totally fine because you'll tweak and adjust along the way. Now, for the exciting part, how do you actually allocate less time while reaching your goals faster? The mistake most entrepreneurs make is not thinking about leverage when it comes to time allocation. They think that they just have to do all the tasks that are required to reach their goals. But this is exactly why so many entrepreneurs end up overwhelmed doing endless tasks with no time left on their hands. Instead, start thinking about your time in terms of leverage. High leverage tasks and low leverage tasks. High leverage tasks are activities that give you a high ROI on your time. These are tasks that genuinely move your business forward, often tasks you're uniquely good at. Low leverage tasks are activities with a low ROI on your time. These tasks often take up lots of time, but it doesn't really move your business forward in a meaningful way. Low leverage tasks often include routine admin work like managing emails, scheduling meetings, or manual data entry. Tasks almost anyone could handle. The most effective entrepreneurs are ruthless about spending as much time as possible on high leverage tasks and as little time as possible on low leverage tasks. To minimize your time spent on low leverage tasks, ask yourself 2 questions. Is this task even necessary at all? In other words, is it going to move the needle for your business? Often the answer is no. And if that's the case, eliminate the activity altogether. If it is necessary, think about how you can either delegate or automate it. Can you make other people do it, whether it's someone in your team or a freelancer? Can you automate it, like for example using AI or other technologies? When you adopt this 3-step approach, that is, number 1, decide how much time you want to invest. Number 2, connect your time investments to your goals. And number 3, invest less time while achieving your goals faster. You will be able to start investing your limited hours into activities that yield the highest returns, which then allows you to achieve more in your business while working fewer hours. Don't get stuck in the inefficiency zones. It's the trap most entrepreneurs find themselves in after building a business that forces them to work way more than they should or need to. This is the main problem Dan Martell, a serial entrepreneur who've generated over 100 million in revenue, highlights in his book, Buy Back Your Time. And it matches exactly what I've seen with my clients. So in this video, I'll show you the 2 life-changing tips you need from the book so you can start improving your business and life today. First, the principle of why you should not scale to grow and the better way to scale. Second, the task matrix so you can start avoiding the 2 inefficiency zones 90% of entrepreneurs get stuck in. I know you want to jump straight into the how-to and the task matrix, but before we go tactical, we need to understand the core principle behind it all. Because once this clicks, you'll execute the how-to 10 times better. So why should you not scale to grow? Most business owners think that to grow or scale their business, they need to either work more and/or hire more. They think that if they just do more or bring in more people, they'll finally break through. That more input equals more output. But that's the trap. If you already feel overwhelmed and decide to scale, guess what? You'll scale your exact situation. You'll scale your overwhelm, stress, and workload. And you'll end up even more stuck in your business, working endless hours. Why? Because you scaled simply to grow. What you should do instead, as Dan says in his book, is scale to buy back your time. When you scale to buy back your time, your business will grow as a byproduct. But if you scale to grow, you won't necessarily get your time back as a byproduct. Your time as the founder is the most valuable asset in the business, and it's limited. The more time you can get back, the more leverage you and your business will have. And if you do this correctly, you'll enter a beautiful upward spiral. The more time you spend on tasks that truly move the needle for your business, the more money your business generates. And the more money your business generates, the more time you can buy back. And then you reinvest that time again into the most important task for your business and makes you more money. And the cycle continues. Okay, now that you have a deeper understanding of the principle, let's look at a practical framework we can start implementing right away. Let me first introduce you to the task matrix, a simple way to categorize your task so you can clearly see where your time and energy are going. Horizontally, you have energizing towards the right and draining towards the left. And vertically, you have value, which most often means money. So you have little money on the lower side and a lot of money on the upper side. This gives us 4 quadrants. On the lower left, we have low value plus draining. I call this low leverage task.
These are tasks that both drains your energy and doesn't really drive any revenue for your business. These are tasks like checking emails, pointless meetings, admin, data entry, etc. On the upper left, we have high value plus draining. I call these mid-leverage tasks. These are tasks that actually do make a lot of money for your business, but you don't like them or you might even hate them. It could, for example, be sales calls, financial planning, or client onboarding, etc. On the upper right, we have high value plus energizing. This is what I call high leverage tasks, and this is the magic zone. These are tasks that make a lot of money for your business and you love doing them. Now, I can't tell you what exactly these tasks are because they depends on you and your business, but you'll figure it out once you start categorizing. Lastly, on the lower right side, we have low value and energizing. This is what I call a long-term leverage task. These are tasks that don't directly drive revenue for your business, at least in the short term, but they are energizing. They could be things like learning, reading, hobbies, time with family, etc. So although not crucial for your business right now, they're definitely important long term, both for your business and life enjoyment. Now that we understand the matrix, here's actionable steps you can start taking. First, write down all the tasks you're doing in your business, everything. Don't worry about filtering and prioritizing just yet. Second, move each of them to one of the 4 quadrants. After you've done that, you'll have a clear overview of your task. The quickest and easiest win is to start with the low leverage quadrant. You want to get these tasks off your plate ASAP. Ask yourself, can you eliminate them? You might find that they're actually not necessarily at all, and you can simply just eliminate them. If not, can you delegate them? Can you handle it to someone else in your team? Can you hire a freelancer to do it? Can you automate the process? Can you use AI and technology to automate the process? Can you simplify it? This is such an easy fix and it's going to free up so much of your time. But not only that, your headspace and energy. How much more productive do you think you and your business will be when you have more time, more headspace, and more energy for the important task that actually moves the business? So yes, you might have guessed it already. The freed up time you get from doing this, you want to mainly reinvest in the high leverage quadrant. Now, if you think you can't afford to delegate, you have to start thinking about how much it's costing your business that you are spending your time there. You as the founder do have an effective hourly rate. So you have to ask yourself, is it more expensive for your business if you as the founder do a low leverage task or have someone else do it? In most cases, it will be much less costly for your business if someone else did it. Just looking at this one quadrant alone will help most of you. But it doesn't need to stop there. Once you've managed to free yourself from the low leverage task, you can start to look at the mid leverage task. But you need to be careful here. These are not the same as the low leverage task. These are tasks that drains you, but they are crucial and moves the needle for your business. So who and how you delegate these tasks require more thoughts. This isn't just about growing your business and making more money. It's also about happiness and fulfillment. It's about getting your life back and spending more time on things that really matter. Not only for your business, but also for your life. Because what's the point of building a business if you can't enjoy the life it's supposed to create?
How do you actually stop scrolling? The answer is simpler than you think. But the funny thing is that the people who need this advice the most are probably the ones who's gonna scroll away or click on the next video. But if you are ready to break free from doom scrolling, I'll give you actionable tips throughout the video, and by the end, you leave with the confidence to finally take back control of your phone and attention. Before we talk solutions, let's get clear on the main downsides of scrolling. Number 1, it overstimulates your brain. Habitually scrolling leads to an increased threshold for what feels enjoyable for you. Activities like working, reading, learning, or even spending time with loved ones will start to feel dull in comparison. It's like training your brain to need constant stimulation just to feel at ease. Second, it shortens your attention span. The people who can focus for longer periods are the ones who will thrive in the future. Every minute you spend mindlessly scrolling is like giving your competition a head start. Honestly, when I see someone scrolling aimlessly, it reminds me of when I'm competing in sport and seeing my competition consistently eating junk food or partying. It might come off as a bit arrogant, but I'm secretly smiling to myself when I see people mindlessly scroll, because I know that they represent most of my competition. And I know that if that is my competition, I'm going to crush them. Social media is like junk food for your brain. It gives you that quick short-term satisfaction, but it's going to ruin you long-term. Third, it's a complete waste of time. You could have spent that time on something so much more meaningful and fun things, like learning a skill, reading, deepening relationships, or even just truly resting. Life is just the sum of every present moment, and by wasting your time, you're wasting your life. To solve scrolling, you need to identify what things about scrolling that distracts you the most and build systems and rules around them. This is actually one of the 30 challenges we do in my 30-day community challenge. In there, I share my complete system, but to not overwhelm you and get you started, here are 3 quick and actionable tips. The most challenging app for me and most people are gonna be Instagram. If you're an Android user, you're in great luck and I greatly envy you. Download distraction-free apps right now and it's gonna save your life. I'm honestly considering an Android for my next phone just because of this. This app allows you to use the Instagram app as normal, but it blocks the feed and other functionalities you don't want to use. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, I just love what they do. So I'll put a link to their website in the description below. Unfortunately, an app like that doesn't exist for iPhone users, but below I share my best workaround so far for Instagram. I've built a 3-line defense system to prevent me from doom scrolling. First defense line: if I only want to message people, I will use the app Business Suite. This app allows me to message people through Instagram, but it doesn't come with the Instagram Reel functionality. Second defense line: if I want to follow or see other notifications for my Instagram, I use it through a phone browser like Safari or Google Chrome or on my computer. I don't really get pulled into doom scrolling by using Instagram through the browser. Also, I have extensions that block the feed through the browser. Third defense line: if I want to use more specific functionalities like seeing photos or posts that my friends sent, only then will I use the Instagram app. But I have to go through the blocker app Jomo. In this app, I've set it up such that I need to wait 10 seconds every time I open Instagram, and I usually only unblock it for 5 minutes. This system allows me to use Instagram intentionally, experience its benefits while minimizing the downsides. A general rule I follow is keeping my phone in a closed drawer for the first 3 hours after waking up and the last hour before bed. This isn't a strict rule. There are days I need to check my phone during those times, and that's totally fine. But for the most part, I only take it out when I genuinely need it and put it back immediately when I'm done. I've also noticed that the physical act of putting my phone away and closing the drawer signals to my brain that now is a no phone time. This significantly reduces my cravings and frees up my headspace to fully focus on my work tasks. Lastly, I'll leave you with a bonus tip. As technology continues to evolve, companies will keep finding new ways to hijack your brain and capture your attention. To stay in control, you need to consistently update your systems and rules. The ones who are aware and proactive will get ahead, while those who remain unaware and passive will fall behind.
If you're enjoying this video so far, you'll absolutely love my weekly newsletter. Here, I'll share actionable tips to effortlessly get more done in less time, with visuals just like this video. You'll be updated on what I'm up to in my business and life, and you'll get exclusive perks. Check the link below to join. Now let's get back to the video.
According to an experiment, running away from an anti-vision can increase your efforts by 4 to 5x compared to running towards a dream vision. But there is another strategy that can boost your efforts by 18 to 20x. In this video, I'll explain how you can apply it to your life, and at the end, give you insights that will make the strategy even more potent. An experiment was conducted with rats, where they attached some sort of spring to their tail to measure their pulling strength. When placing a piece of cheese in front of it, the pulling strength was measured as 1. When placing the smell of a cat urine behind it, the pulling strength increased by 4 to 5x. But although the pulling strength increased, the rat only pulled for half the distance. In other words, the absolute motivation increased, but the duration decreased. But here is the crazy part. When placing the smell of cat urine behind it and a piece of cheese in front of it, the pulling strength increased by 18 to 20x and the distance doubled. In other words, both the absolute motivation and duration increased. So what can we learn from this? Running towards desire or a vision is good, but running away from fear, an anti-vision, is even more powerful. But the most powerful is running away from fear and towards a desire at the same time. Now, how do we specifically apply it to our own life? Well, first, write down your vision and anti-vision. Second, and here's the detail, create a vision board and an anti-vision board. Remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Lastly, make it a daily habit to look at your board. Incorporate it into your daily routine. I look at mine every morning. I have done so for years. The only reason we fall off our path is because we forget our purpose. By seeing them every day, you'll keep it at the forefront of your mind and never forget again. This is why people give up too early. If you ever felt like your efforts aren't paying off, you're not alone. I'll make it perfectly clear through explaining this graph, and later in this short video, I'll give you an analogy that will make you never give up too soon again. People have the wrong expectations of the relationships between their actions and their results. They think that just by taking actions, their results will follow at the same rate. But that's not how it works. As time passes and no results are coming, people get frustrated and give up. What they don't realize is that you will see little to no result in the beginning, and it's only much later on that you will start to see the fruits of your efforts. It's kind of like boiling water. If we imagine boiling water as the result we want, and the heating process as our actions, then you won't see any results until the water hits 100 degrees or 212 degrees Fahrenheit for my American viewers out there. It doesn't matter if it's 30 degrees or 90 degrees. If you stop before reaching the tipping point, you won't see any result. It's the same with the results from your actions. You might take actions for weeks and months, seeing little to no progress, but in reality, you are heating up the water. And once you reach 100 degrees, that's when you see exponential results. Here's the hard part. If we zoom in on our day-to-day lives, the actions we take seems like they're not changing anything. They seem insignificant and the results are invisible. Eating a salad today won't change you. Just like eating a donut today is not going to harm you, but it will absolutely affect you over the longer term. These actions will be the start of you going either exponentially upwards or exponentially downwards. In conclusion, understand that your results will come much later on, and when they do, they will come exponentially. Understand that your actions today might seem insignificant, but behind the scenes, you are heating up the water, and every degree matters. Remember, most people give up right before they reach the tipping point. Don't be one of them. Do you feel more tired after taking your break? Or no matter how many breaks you take, you're still drained whenever you get back to work? You're not alone. The problem isn't that you're taking breaks, it's how you're taking them. And this one mistake could have a surprisingly big effect on your productivity, output, and even overall enjoyment in life. In this video, I'll talk about why some breaks leave you drained, why boring breaks might be the productivity hack you've been missing, and lastly, how you can ease your way into implementing them to ultimately get more done and feel better doing it. If your breaks are supposed to recharge you, why do some breaks leave us feeling even more drained? To help you understand the answer, let me first introduce you to Dr. Anna Lemke, a psychiatrist and the author of Dopamine Nation, and her concept of the pleasure-pain balance. Imagine a scale with pleasure on the left side and pain on the right side. When you indulge in something pleasurable, like eating chocolate or checking your phone, dopamine is released in your reward pathway, tipping the scale toward the pleasure side. But here's the catch. Our brain wants the scale to be balanced, at equilibrium, in homeostasis. To bring the scale back to balance, the brain kicks in powerful self-regulating mechanisms like cutting back on dopamine production or makes the dopamine receptors less sensitive. But the brain doesn't just bring the scale back to balance, it tips it further until it reaches the equal and opposite amount before going back to homeostasis. When it tips further, that is when you're in a temporary dopamine deficit, and that is when you feel drained and low in motivation. Here, you often start craving another piece of chocolate to get yourself out of this uncomfortable state. But here's the dangerous part. If you indulge in your cravings in this state, you're going to need more to feel the same pleasure you felt in the first place. This is also called increased tolerance or neuroadaptation. This leads to the brain cutting back even more dopamine or make the dopamine receptors even less sensitive to restore balance, leaving you in an even more drained state. What most people are not aware of is that if you just waited the first time, the brain would have just naturally restored the balance. If we bring this back to taking breaks, most of us instinctively turn to social media or other highly stimulating activities during our breaks. These activities overstimulate our brains, flooding them with dopamine and tipping the scale hard toward pleasure. Naturally, our brain wants to tip the scale back, producing less dopamine and often leaving us with a dopamine base level lower than when we first took the break. That's why when you come back to work after scrolling Instagram or TikTok, you feel more drained. So, if overstimulating breaks leave us feeling drained, what kind of break should we take instead?
Well, let's look at the pleasure-pain balance again. Instead of scrolling social media, flooding our brains with dopamine and tipping the scale hard toward pleasure, what if we just did nothing? What if we took a boring break or a clean break instead? What if we just took a walk, sat down and did nothing, stared into space, or just daydream? So instead of wasting your dopamine, you're saving it for when you come back to work. But not only that, during a boring break, you're actually allowing your brain to continue its natural process of producing dopamine at its baseline rate, gradually refilling your reserves. Additionally, a boring break might actually tip the scale a bit towards pain, leading the brain to counteract by producing more dopamine to tip the scale with an equal and opposite amount, making you even more motivated and feeling better after your break. So how do you actually implement boring breaks without feeling overwhelmed? Going cold turkey and cutting out all social media breaks might sound appealing at first, but that will likely be too much of a change for most people. Here's what I did. I transitioned through something I like to call baby steps. In week 1 of my plan, my goal was to just make my first break of the day a boring break. No scrolling, no stimulation. For the rest of my breaks, I allowed myself to do whatever I wanted. In week 2 of the plan, I took it a step further. Now my first 2 breaks of the day had to be boring breaks. Over time, I kept building on this. Now, most mornings before lunch, my breaks are entirely boring breaks. I use lunch as a time to go on social media guilt-free, and in the afternoon, I allow myself 1 to 2 social media breaks during my second work session. So you see how I baby step my way into implementing boring breaks. Be flexible and make it work for your routine. Even small changes can make a big difference in how refreshed and productive you feel throughout the day. After I applied what I'm gonna share with you in this video, my cravings towards watching meaningless YouTube videos, binging anime, and scrolling endlessly through social media completely stopped, and it became easy to do my quote-unquote hard work. The same will happen for you if you implement what I'm gonna tell you in this video, and in the end, I'm gonna tell you how you can continue to do it consistently. So let's get into it. First, let's understand the problem of overstimulation and why it's affecting your productivity. Many of us are constantly bombarded with dopamine hits from activities like scrolling through social media, watching YouTube videos, or even porn. While dopamine itself isn't bad, getting cheap dopamine hits too easily tricks our brain into feeling rewarded without doing any meaningful work. This messes up our dopamine system and makes our brain stop craving tasks that actually matters to you. To solve this, we need to do 2 things. First, reset your dopamine system, and second, implement a system to prevent overstimulation. Before I share my protocol, let me tell you about a specific experience I had with overstimulation. I noticed I was spending more time than usual on YouTube, binge watching anime and doom scrolling. Even while working, I craved checking my phone for quick dopamine hits. Realizing I was overstimulated, I decided to do a 1-day mini dopamine fast. I set my main and only goal for the day to be bored. Whatever I did that day, the goal was to be bored. This helped tremendously because every time I wanted to do something stimulating to get a dopamine hit, I was reminded of my goal to be bored and stop myself. Here's what I did specifically. For my computer, I only allowed myself to do work-related things. All other websites were blocked for that day. For my phone, I put it on airplane mode and hid it in a drawer. I enabled grayscale mode to make it less stimulating for the times I needed to use it. And every time I needed to use my phone, I had to state my intention out loud and my estimated time of use before. And when I was finished, I had to put it back into airplane mode and in the drawer. All other non-work related apps were also blocked for that day. When it came to my food, I only ate boring, non-stimulating food. And for my other activities, I minimized social interactions and basically any stimulating activities. So most of the day consisted of me just sitting and walking. And every time I wanted to do something fun to stimulate myself, I stopped and reminded that the goal of the day was to be bored. The next day, the change was incredible. I had no cravings to go on YouTube, watch anime, or scroll social media. In fact, I was disgusted by the thought of it. Any activities that were not aligned with my values and goals, I no longer wanted to do. And it became effortless to only do the things that were aligned with my values and goals. This state lasted for about a month before signs of overstimulation returned. But the great thing was, I could just repeat the process. And I can repeat it every time I get overstimulated. So here are my 2 recommendations. Try the mini dopamine fast to reset your dopamine system. Repeat this fast every month. If you get overstimulated faster, consider doing it every 2 weeks or more. Adjust and find what works best for you. And lastly, a bonus. Explore deeper fast. You probably noticed me calling this fast a mini dopamine fast. This is because there are more intensive dopamine fasts where you fast from even eating and socializing. You can experiment with these types of dopamine fast, although you probably don't need to do them as often. I personally do these once a year for an even bigger reset. And there you have it. By resetting your dopamine system and controlling your overstimulation, you can break free from the cycle of procrastination and distraction and refocus on what truly matters to you. You already know what to do. What's holding you back isn't strategies and tactics. It's something else that controls 95% of your actions. So in this video, I'm going to show you how your subconscious mind is making you self-sabotage unconsciously, and a simple 2-step approach you can start taking today to stop sabotaging yourself. Let's get started. Imagine there's a sharp knife pressed right against your throat and someone tells you to step forward. Would you do it? Of course not. Even if you tried, your body would instantly freeze, and every instinct will scream at you to not move. That's exactly how unconscious negative beliefs work. If deep down you believe stepping forward toward your goals is dangerous, your unconscious mind will do everything it can to stop you. That's self-sabotage. But understand this, your mind isn't sabotaging you to hurt you, it's doing it to keep you safe. So to clarify, in this metaphor, the knife represents your negative belief. Stepping forward represents the necessary action needed to reach your goal. Now, how does this relate to you as a professional or an ambitious person? If you hold negative beliefs, whether you're aware of them or not, about money, success, productivity, or your own worthiness, you'll unconsciously block yourself from doing the very things you need to succeed. Because deep down, your unconscious mind believes that if I succeed, I'll die. That's when sabotage kicks in. Not because you're lazy or incapable, but because you're wired to protect yourself. This is why mastering any game, career, performance, or productivity, is 80% inner game. That is, beliefs and mindsets, and only 20% outer game. That is, strategies and tactics. You could have the world's best strategies, tactics, and plans, but if you're unconsciously sabotaging yourself, none of that matters. So how do you stop self-sabotaging yourself and start effortlessly leveling up? Let me show you that next. Okay, first you have to realize that a belief is just that, a belief. It's not reality. The knife in front of your throat isn't even real. It's an illusion your unconscious mind created, all to keep you safe. Realizing this is your first step to freedom. Second, identify all the negative beliefs about money, success, or your ability to stay focused and perform. Do the following exercise. Here I have a list of bullet point statements. I don't have enough time, I don't have enough resources, I'm not good enough, money is bad, I'm self-sabotaging myself, I don't have the network needed. Now, for each of the statements, I want you to write 2 things. First, the lie you believe about the statements. And if you don't think you have any lies about this statement, try to come up with it anyways. And second, a truth that directly counters the lie. For example, let's say you're working with the statement, I'm self-sabotaging myself. You'd first write the lie you believe about the statement. It might be something like this. I'm sabotaging myself around making more money and success because deep down, I'm a people pleaser. If I succeed, it will shine a spotlight on other people, making them uncomfortable about their own achievements. Therefore, I'll unconsciously self-sabotage myself to protect their feelings. Do you see now how sneaky self-sabotaging works? And yes, this is actually one of my personal examples. Next, we want to flip the script and write a truth that counters that lie. It could be something like this. How people feel about my achievements is none of my responsibility. I go for what I want, proudly and unapologetically. People who become uncomfortable with my success probably aren't the kind of people I want around me anyways. The people I truly want in my life will celebrate my achievements and encourage me to share them. Have you thought about what life you could have had right now if you didn't hold back your true self? The life you have right now, your business or work, your relationships, it's all your doing. But what if the you that built it wasn't the real you? What if it was a fake you? The fake me created a master's degree, a 9-to-5 job I hated, and surrounded me with people I couldn't relate to. The real me created a YouTube channel with over 100,000 subscribers, a business for myself while traveling the world, and attracted like-minded people I genuinely enjoy being around. So in this video, I'll show you how much this fake you is ruining your life. simple steps you can start taking today to become who you really are or want to be, to start attracting the life, the business or work, and the relationships you truly desire. Everything in your life is a reflection of you. Your thoughts, mindsets, decisions, actions, it all pours out into everything you do. Think about your business or work. Every result you have comes from the actions you made, which were based on decisions you took, which ultimately came from your thoughts and mindsets. And it's exactly the same with your relationships. Whether you decide to talk to someone or not, whether you set clear boundaries or not, these actions and decisions flows directly from your inner self. But what happens if the you until now that has built your entire life isn't actually you? What if it's an artificial, fake persona you created out of fear? Fear of judgment, shame, and rejection. If that's the case, that means your entire life, your business, your relationships, your happiness is a reflection of someone who's not really you. And what's even worse is that if you're unhappy with that life, then you're living a life of somebody else that you don't even want. So how can you start becoming who you truly are or who you want to be to create the life, business, and relationships you truly desire? Let me show you that next. Let me introduce you to the concept of outer game and inner game. The outer game is about the practical actions you take and the techniques of doing them. The inner game is about your beliefs and mindsets behind those actions. Both games affect each other, as doing your actions successfully can reinforce positive beliefs and mindsets, and strengthening your beliefs and mindsets can make you execute the actions and techniques better. Usually, the outer game isn't that complicated. It's often just a step-by-step process that you need to follow. The key here is to find a proven step-by-step process, usually from books, courses, coaches, etc. But what's really holding people back is their inner game, which is a bit more complicated. This is where things like fears, limiting beliefs, and self-sabotage come in and prevent you from taking the necessary actions. But it's not as simple as just replacing your thoughts and mindsets, because these fears, limiting beliefs, and mindsets are often buried deep down in your subconscious, your shadow self, and changing them requires deep work. But let's connect this to how to become who you truly are or want to be. In all the situations where you feel like you can't be yourself or who you want to be, do the following. First, what actions are you not taking to be who you truly are or want to be? What techniques can you learn to execute those actions? What proven systems or process can you follow? This first part focuses on the outer game. Second, what thoughts and mindsets are holding you back from taking those actions? How can you let go of those thoughts and mindsets? What other thoughts and mindsets can you have instead that will empower you to take those actions? This second part focuses on the inner game. And as I said, the inner game is not as simply as just replacing your thoughts and mindsets. It requires deep work, but to help you get started, here's a short list of powerful inner game activities you can explore. Meditation, journaling, visualizations, affirmations, bioenergetics, therapy, coaching, psychedelics, etc. Now, I could probably make multiple videos on each of these, but as I said, we'll keep it simple. What worked best for me is sticking with 1 or 2 activities at a time for an extended period. Eventually, you'll find which ones work best for you. Remember, the ultimate goal here is to get to the root causes of your fears, holding you back from taking the actions necessary to become who you truly are or want to be. And by combining this with the outer game, you'll create a powerful upward spiral of growth and progress. Now, as I said many times now, this work is challenging. It won't happen overnight. After all, you're undoing a lifetime of conditioning, habits, and trauma. But here's the thing. What's your alternative? To continue living as this fake version of yourself, staying stuck in a life you don't even like? Or put in the work to finally become who you truly are, or who you genuinely want to be, and create the life, career, and relationships you genuinely desire? The choice is yours. The very first decision you make each day in your business can be catastrophic, unless you do this simple thing. So in this video, I'll show you exactly how this routine primes your brain for optimal business decisions, a complete morning routine, and how you can copy and customize it to your own situation. Let's dive into the first point. Here's the truth most people overlook. You can't achieve any meaningful goal as you are right now. Growth demands personal evolution. To achieve any goal, you have to become the person who's capable of achieving that goal. You have to level up. You have to change. Think of it this way. Every big goal you ever reached changed you in some fundamental way. You're not the same person as you were when you started. You've developed new mindsets, beliefs, and skills. And the same applies for your business. Probably heard the saying, people don't have business problems, they have personal problems. And it's absolutely true. Your business is simply a reflection of you, your mindset, character, and decisions. It all pours out into your business. So if you want to grow your business or achieve any meaningful business goals, you need to show up as a new person. Level up yourself and your business will follow. And that's why having a powerful morning routine matters. It's an opportunity for you to prime yourself and show up to your business as a new and better you. It's like sharpening the axe before chopping the tree. Sure, you could get straight into chopping the tree, but the wise person knows that if he sharpens his axe first, he will end up chopping the tree much faster and with less effort. So how exactly do you apply this concept? Well, let me walk you through my step-by-step morning routine next and show you how you can copy it and customize it to your own situation. My morning routine consists of 3 overarching steps, each crucial, with the second step being the main one. But first, let me cover step number 1. This first step is all about seamlessly transition from the moment you wake up to the moment you execute the main part of your morning routine. Doing this properly preserves all your mental energy and clarity for work later and makes your routine effortless. So my mornings used to look like this. I'd wake up and my first thoughts would be, should I get out of my bed now or lay for a few more minutes? After finally deciding to get up, I then thought about what clothes to put on. Should I wear something cozy or dress up now? Then I'd go to the toilet, but wondered if I should go down to drink water first. And when it was time for the main part of my morning routine, I paused to think again. Should I do it in the bedroom or another room? Can you see how many decisions I had to make just a few minutes after waking up? Each of these small decisions drains your mental energy. This is called decision fatigue, and most people completely overlook how much it affects their productivity and clarity. The solution to this is to minimize your decisions. You do this by pre-planning every small step from the moment you wake up until the moment you start your main morning routine. Exactly what clothes to wear, the order of going to the bathroom first or drinking water after, etc. Everything needs to be pre-decided. By doing this, your brain are not wasting any mental energy on deciding these trivial things. And the more consistently you do this, the more automatic it becomes. Eventually, you'll do these steps without even thinking. So here's exactly what my step 1 looks like now. First, I wake up and put on pre-decided clothes, and it's usually the same outfit every day unless I have a meeting with a client. Second, I go to the toilet. Third, I head to the kitchen and drink 2 glasses of water. Fourth, step outside and expose myself to sunlight for a few minutes. And fifth, go directly to the room where I do the main part of my morning routine. So how can you apply this step to yourself? It's simple. First, map out every action and decision you currently make from the moment you wake up until the moment you do the main part of your morning routine. Second, pre-decide each of these steps and execute them consistently until they become automatic habits you do on autopilot. And bonus tip, reduce friction wherever possible. For example, if you have specific clothes you wear each morning, instead of storing them in another room deep inside a closet, hang them ready in your bedroom. This makes it easier and quicker to follow through. I'm telling you, don't underestimate the fatigue that comes from having to decide each of these trivial decisions in the moment. They will have a significant negative effect on your decision making later on. Next, let me show you the main part of my morning routine. Remember how I said earlier that business problems are really just personal problems? This is exactly what the main part of the morning routine will address. I used to make a common mistake where I simply copy whatever morning routine I found online. Sure, some of these routines can be a decent starting point, but they're not tailored to your own personal challenge. The most powerful morning routine is one that specifically targets your unique personal problems. That's also why the main part of my morning routine changes from time to time, depending on what personal challenges I'm currently working on. It can be anything from different type of meditations, journaling, mobility, etc. But what I've found for myself and most people is that mindsets and limiting beliefs are usually the main personal problem people struggle with. So right now, for example, I'm doing a Joe Dispenza style of meditation, specifically designed to address certain limiting beliefs and mindsets blocks I'm working through. But I also know other successful entrepreneurs who swear by a morning workout or yoga session as the main part of their routine. The point is, your main morning activity should directly address your biggest personal problem, because your business problems are just your personal problems. So how do you apply this step for yourself? First, identify your main personal problems. Take a moment and clearly map out the biggest personal problems or barriers you're currently facing. What's holding you back from reaching your next level? Second, choose activities that directly address these problems. I've listed a few examples already, but as I said, what's holding most people back are their mindsets and limiting beliefs. So consider activities like meditation, visualization, journaling, or similar. When you tailor your morning routine to directly tackle your biggest personal problem, you've now primed yourself to show up to your business as a new and evolved person. And the decisions you make in your business will be from this new and evolved person. Okay, now we've covered the main part of the morning routine. But what about the final step? From the moment you finish your main part of the morning routine to the moment you sit down to work on your business. The last third step shares the exact same goals as step number 1, to minimize decision fatigue and friction. So whether you need to shower and prepare yourself for work or drive your kids to school, the process is the same as in number 1. First, map out every action and decision you're currently making from the moment you finish the main part of your morning routine to the moment you sit down and start working. Second, pre-decide each of these steps clearly. Execute them consistently so they become automatic habits you perform on autopilot. And the same bonus tip here, minimize friction wherever possible. You now have all the 3 steps of a powerful morning routine that will prime you to make better business decisions. So to recap, we have step number 1, the first transition, which were to automate every step from the moment you wake up to the moment you execute the main part of your morning routine. Then we have step number 2, the main part of our morning routine, where we directly work on our biggest personal problem. And lastly, step 3, the last transition, where we automate every step from the moment we finish our morning routine to the moment we sit down and work on our business. With this morning routine, you'll consistently tackle your biggest personal problem first thing in the morning, forcing you to level up. And as you level up, your business will follow. Plus, we've done it in a way where decision fatigue is minimized. This means we've preserved maximal mental clarity and energy for when we sit down to work and need to make the big business decisions, rather than wasting them on trivial decisions like what clothes to wear. Now you might be wondering, how long should this morning routine actually be? Great question. After testing this for years, I've found the sweet spot for me to be around 30 minutes. If I go much longer than that, it starts to feel more fatiguing than priming. Now you might still be thinking, couldn't I just take those 30 minutes and spend them directly on my business to get ahead faster instead? Well, remember sharpening the axe analogy I told you about earlier? Sure, you could jump straight into work and put in, for example, a total of 8 hours. Or you could spend the first 30 minutes to prime yourself and make the remaining 7.5 hours of work significantly more productive because of everything I mentioned earlier in the video. So you now know how to prime yourself to make better business decisions before you start your workday. What if you could unlock peak productivity with just one shift? Sounds almost too good to be true, right? Well, in this video, I'll reveal that one powerful shift and exactly how to integrate it into your work routine to take your productivity to the next level. Come to a point in time where the landscape of most work has changed. It's not like before, where you just showed up, did a set of tasks without much thought, and went home. Now you're expected to perform. And the ones that perform at the highest level are the ones that will produce the best output. In other words, we become more like athletes. But here's the problem. The traditional 8-hour work structure with a small lunch break hasn't changed at all, even though our roles have evolved. As a result, many people find themselves stuck, trying to function like high-performing athletes, but still following outdated work models. If you want to excel, you gotta treat yourself like a true work athlete. Show up in your best state, just like athletes show up to training in their best state. Recover after each work session so you can return at peak capacity for the next one. Optimize your diet, sleep, and daily habits the way athletes do it to perform at their best in their sport. Lastly, remember that athletes don't peak all year around. They have on seasons and off seasons to avoid overtraining and burnout. You can do the same by periodically focusing on intense work periods and then dialing it back to regain balance. This cyclical approach lets you sustain high productivity over time.
If you managed to reach this part of the video, give yourself a huge pat on the back. As I said, this is one of my best productivity videos of the past years, and I've genuinely hoped you enjoy them. Now, for some of you, I know that just watching a YouTube video might not be enough. For some of you, you want more context or an even deeper dive into how people actually get results or apply the concepts. Or you just want more accountability and truly personalized feedback. Now, I worked with hundreds of people, helping them more than double their productivity, resulting in things like increasing their revenue for their business, less stress from their work, finding a new job, starting their side hustle, and just more free time to do whatever they want. Now, if that sounds like you, definitely check the links below to learn more on how to work closer with me. I appreciate it, guys, and I hope to see you around very soon.